declare independence from our enemy. That's the Declaration of Independence Thomas Jefferson would have signed if he were alive today. That's the Declaration of Independence I'll sign as your next president. Great question, my man, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Forced divestment of that land. Thank you. Why don't you ask me and I'll repeat your question. Sir.
You've been spouting all your policies, which I've heard over and over and over again from you. But you started out tonight talking about character.
Yes.
I want to know about you. You said there's a war on. You're either this side or that side. How are you going to get people to come together in the middle if you're on the one side or the other side?
Great question. This is a question about, and I appreciate, what's your name, sir? David asked a great question. And he says, it's a challenging question. I like that. He said, you've been spouting off policy, which is important. It's half the job of the next U.S. president. But half the job is reviving our national character, who we are. And I care deeply about national unity. I do. But I'm not going to deliver a fake unity. We're not going to show up at the 50-yard line in the so-called middle and say, let's compromise, hold hands, and sing Kumbaya. That's not how we'll unite this country. The way we're going to unite this country is by embracing the radicalism of the American ideals themselves. 1776. Those are not moderate ideals. The idea that you get to speak your mind, David, as long as I get to in return. That's a radical idea. For most of human history, it was done the other way. Old world Europe would have laughed at us to think that was possible. The idea that we, the people, are the ones who get to select our leaders. That's a radical idea for most of human history. And apparently now in some corners of America, they want it to be done the other way. That's how we unite this country, is by asking, what are the ideals that unite all of us as Americans? Our diversity is not our strength. Our strength is what unites us across that diversity. E pluribus unum. As I said before, from many, one. 80% of us in this country, here's the good news. I've been to almost every state in this union at this point. 80% of us agree on those basic rules of the road. Black or white, even red or blue. Here's even better news. Half the 20% are people younger than me who never learned those ideals in the first place. We're going to bring them along too. But there is a fringe minority in this country who believes in apologizing for those ideals, who believe that our country was founded in 1619 rather than 1776. I won't negotiate with them. I'm not going to compromise with them. We're going to lead this country, especially that next generation who is lost, by reviving those shared ideals. And I believe today it's 80%. By the time I'm done, it's 90% of this country share those ideals in common. And you know what? We might still disagree on corporate tax rates. And that's fine. I prefer low tax rates across the board. That's fine. But those are details. But the way we're going to unite this country is my message in this general election. Is if you agree with those basic rules of the road, those basic 1776 ideals, then we're on the same team. That's the way I look at it. And if we do that, we deliver a landslide election in 2024 akin to what Ronald Reagan delivered in 1980. And that sounds about as ridiculous for me to say today as it did for Reagan in December of 79. But that's what I'm going to be able to do as your nominee. If you guys make me your nominee, that's what I owe you in response. 40% of our donors to this campaign are first-time ever donors to the GOP of any kind. That number is 2% for a normal Republican candidate. We're bringing along young people at a rate this party has never seen, college campuses and otherwise. Most of our supporters in this state are first-time ever caucus goers. We are going to deliver a shock, not a surprise, but a shock on January 15th in this state. I think we're going to win the Iowa caucus. And I think that's going to be what propels us forward to win the general election in a landslide. Bringing in people into our movement who have not been part of our movement before, from libertarians to young people to people who are America First pro-Americans who haven't necessarily been part of a Republican Party establishment before, a multi-ethnic working class coalition across this country. That's what we're going to build to revive who we really are, who shares our ideals in common. That, David, is how we will unite this country, and you have my pledge. That's one of the most important things I will do for you as your next president. Thank you. Thank you. Go to you right here.
Hold it up then. And what is your view on the welfare system?
Two very different questions, but I like it. How pro-life are you? That's the right way to phrase that question. And what's my view of the welfare state? Yeah, so I'll start with the first one first. I am staunchly pro-life. I believe life begins at conception. That's what my faith teaches me, and I don't compromise on that principle. Here's how we make sure that we also unite this country around that principle. So I'll give you the example of a case Clarence Thomas brought up, of a pregnant woman who was assaulted. The unborn child died as a result. Find me one person in this country who will tell you that that criminal doesn't deserve some responsibility for that death. I haven't found one yet. Pro-life, pro-choice, it doesn't matter. That says we share the pro-life instincts in common. Now we just have to walk the walk when it comes to actually being pro-life. I'll tell you what I mean. We got to go further as a pro-life movement to stand for policies that promote life, adoption, child care. This is a big one. This is the way we win on this issue. And I mean it when I say this as a man. Greater sexual responsibility for men codified in the law. If a woman brings a child to term, she should have at her sole option the ability to make the man the responsible party for raising that child under the law if it's confirmed by a genetic paternity test. That didn't exist 40 years ago. It does today. So let's walk the walk when it comes to being pro-life. That's how we win on this issue without compromising on our principles and who we are. Here's my view on the welfare state. It has been destructive to the very people we were supposedly helping. Paying people more money today not to have a man in the house than to have a man in the house. Speaking of the nuclear family. Black family formation is worse off today than it was in the 1950s. Today, 45% of black kids are born into single-parent households. That number was a fraction of that in the 1950s and 60s. You get what you pay for. 25% of all kids are born into fatherless homes. If you're born in a fatherless household, you're 8 times more likely to end up in poverty, 10 times more likely not to graduate from high school or to end up in jail. We're paying people more money not to have a job than to go to work. More money not to repay their student loans than to repay their student loans. It's back to what I said to the young woman's question earlier. That is not compassion, that is cruelty. So we're even failing the very people we're supposedly claiming to help. That's a failure. So on my watch, we will stop using our taxpayer money to pay people to do the exact opposite of what's actually best for them. That's what ends on my watch. And we revive work requirements in this country. You want to grow this economy? You want to fight inflation? You want to restore American greatness? Put people back to work in this country. That's what grows this economy. That's what lifts all of us up. Stop paying people more money to do the opposite. That's not only how we end the welfare state and stop our national debt problem. That's how we grow this economy. That's how we address a mental health epidemic in this country of depression and anxiety. I'll lead that as your next president. It takes somebody with fresh legs from the outside to finally get that done. Thank you for that question. I appreciate it. Thank you. I want to give some to the gentleman in the back. You ask me the question and then I'll answer it. Thank you. Ukraine and Israel. Some easy questions you're giving me from back there. I like that. Let me just check in the back. Are you guys, I know it's not as good as in the front, but are you able to hear it? Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for your patience back there, too. I'm glad you all came out tonight. This is what I like. Give me the hard ones, okay? So let's start with Ukraine. This war does not advance American interests. And I will end using our taxpayer dollars to fight a war that doesn't advance American interests. $200 billion of our own money effectively going so some Ukrainian kleptocrat is buying a bigger house. That's what's happening today. That's the hard truth. And the next $100 billion isn't going to do anything that the first $100 billion didn't accomplish on its own. I would negotiate a reasonable deal that ends this war, but requires in return, I'm not giving Putin anything for free. We will require that Russia exit its military alliance with China. That's the travesty of this Ukraine war. We're driving Russia further into China's hands. That increases the risk of World War III. So I would make a hard commitment that NATO will not admit Ukraine to NATO and a reasonable deal to bring this war to a close. But in return, Russia has to exit its military deal with China. They will do it. There are kinks in the armor of that relationship right now. We just need the courage to stand up and actually see it. So, do I trust Putin? No, I don't. He's a craven dictator. Did Nixon trust Mao? No, he did not. But Nixon did what we needed to do. That was what brought us to the late stage and the end of the Cold War, bringing China out of Russia's clasp. And now we do the same in reverse. And I'll tell you something, I'm the only candidate in this race in either party that's talking about that Russia-China alliance. That's the single greatest threat that we face. And I think there's a reason why. Foreign policy experience is not the same as foreign policy wisdom. Have you guys been watching the debates? I don't know if some of you have been. Anybody seen the debates? See, that's the farce I wanted to call out. Some of the people in the Republican Party, most of them, who want you to send eventually America's sons and daughters, now hundreds of billions of our own money to fight for Ukraine, can't even tell you what parts of Ukraine they want to fight for. This is the intellectual farce at the heart of, frankly, both parties. And frankly, many of my opponents in this GOP primary, their foreign policy is closer to Joe Biden's than what it should be to put this country first. And so I'll tell you how I think. As a father of two sons, my moral duty is to my family. And as your next president, my sole moral duty is to you. The people of this country, not any other one. As it relates to Israel. See, I'll teach you guys how politics works here. The smooth move, what the political consultants would tell me to do is filibuster on the Ukraine question, avoid the Israel one, and then move on, because that's the harder one. No, we're going to answer the harder question. Israel has an absolute right to defend itself. Israel has a right to exist. What Hamas did to Israel was subhuman. It was medieval. It was wrong. Israel has the right to defend itself as Israel deems fit. And our job is to diplomatically provide an iron dome for Israel to be able to do that without the UN or the EU or, frankly, the US getting in their way. That's what you're starting to see now. And so I think it is better both for the US and for Israel if we're not intervening militarily. Israel can get its own job done. Stand for them diplomatically, rather than the half-in, half-out philosophy that got us to Iraq and Afghanistan, two wars that didn't advance the American interest, added $7 trillion to our national debt, killed thousands of our sons and daughters. For what purpose? 20 years later, the Taliban is still in charge, and Iraq is an even more broken country than it was before. So it takes, I think, that level of clarity in leadership that's better for Israel and better for the United States. That's what it means to be a true America First conservative. I'm a George Washington America First conservative. I actually believe in what he said in his 1796 farewell speech. That is how we lead the world, by being strong right here. So I would tell Bibi, you want to smoke the terrorists on your southern border, you have the right to do it. We're going to smoke the terrorists on our own southern border. That's how Israel's strong. That's how America's strong. That's how I'll lead this country as your commander-in-chief. Thank you for that question. I appreciate it. Go right there. I'll repeat your question.
How do we go about maintaining the viability of Medicare and Social Security?
You guys are asking the hard ones tonight. I like that. Social Security and Medicare, what's my actual view? So somebody else earlier asked about abortion, and the conventional wisdom is this is how the Republican Party, thank you, this is how the Republican Party is going to lose the election. I disagree with that. I think if you want to know how the Republican Party is going to lose this election, it's actually going to be cuts to Social Security. Most of the Republican Party, one way or another, believes they need to cut your Social Security. I disagree. I think this is our last chance for me to say this. If our national debt and the interest payments on it become the largest line item in our federal budget, then we're done. We're done. We're in quicksand. You know how long? Anybody in here know how long that is till we get there? It's about 5 years. In about 5 years, the interest payments on our national debt are the largest line item. Not anything else. Not Social Security, not anything. The interest payments are our largest line item. We can't get there. Here's how we're going to do it. First, let me give you the positive solutions, and I'll tell you about what we're going to do with Social Security. Get the oil and natural gas out of our own ground and sell it to buy down trillions of dollars of our national debt. That's how we solve this problem. This is not complicated. Avoid the next step. Avoid Ukraine 2.0. End foreign aid to any country whose national debt per person is less than ours. That's not complicated. And then as it relates to Social Security, we're able to now get our debt under $20 trillion that way, what I just laid out. 75% reduction in the number of federal bureaucrats. Start with zero-based budgeting. That takes a CEO in the White House. We have our national debt under control. Everything I told you is not going to get it to zero. I don't think it needs to get to zero. It just needs to get to a manageable place. I'm the single candidate in this race that's offered a clear arithmetic vision of how we're going to get there. Now Social Security, we have done that without cutting a dime of anybody's Social Security or Medicare benefits. And it will stay that way on my watch. It is unfair to ask Americans to have cuts to Social Security. There are other candidates in this race that basically want to cut Social Security to ship more money to Ukraine. That's effectively America last. I stand for putting Americans first. Now I'm going to go one step further. What if I told you there's a way to increase Social Security benefits without adding to our national debt? Right now, those Social Security benefits are really not covering the cost of living for many Americans who have paid into it. Nobody in the Republican Party will say this because the dogma is how and when to cut. I think about American exceptionalism. How do we expand Social Security benefits while keeping our national debt balance healthy? Here's the answer. Hard math. It takes a CEO to understand this. And I didn't share with you guys my background. I hate bragging about myself, so I don't waste time doing it. But trust me, I built multi-billion-dollar companies from scratch. I didn't inherit my wealth. I'm 38 years old, and we're not relying on the donor class to run for president. I know how to take on bureaucracies. I know how to do some arithmetic, okay? Just trust me on that. 40 years ago, if the people paying into Social Security, the Social Security Trust Fund, had been invested in the same way your financial advisor would tell you to invest your diversified portfolio, stocks, bonds, treasuries, etc., just an ordinary diversified portfolio, the average person collecting $1,800 per month in Social Security right now would be collecting $18,000 per month. If you're in this room collecting Social Security benefits right now, or close to it, I want you to imagine that, getting an $18,000 per month check in your mail. That could have been the case, but for government malpractice of the highest order. That's okay. We will still change that today, such that the people who are getting it now, we won't cut a dime from your benefit. And the people who are paying into it now, you will get $18,000+ a month based on setting this up in the right way today. And yes, that takes a leader from the outside to deliver this. If the existing broken politicians of yesterday were going to do it, it would have happened already. That's why I'm in this race. I don't relish being your next president or running in the race of politics. And I don't think you should want somebody who relishes it. We have too many politicians that make money off of public service. I mean, I was talking earlier today. Elizabeth Warren. You see what her salary is. It's public record. And then somehow, with a low six-figure salary as a public servant, she's worth $67 million all of a sudden. How does that happen? It's not just the Democrats. It happens in the Republican Party, too. Even some of the others running for U.S. president are guilty of the same. I think it's going to take somebody who's not bought and paid for by that system. Somebody with fresh legs from the next generation to lead us. And I do believe these revolutions, they are led by the next generation for a reason. Thomas Jefferson, he was 33 years old when he wrote that Declaration of Independence. Think about that. 33. And he invented the swivel chair while he was at it. I'm not making that up. That's the character of our country. We're the pioneers, the explorers, the unafraid. The people who nobody was going to stop. No government was going to stand in our way. Our inner animal spirit, it has been domesticated. It has been tamed. It has been whipped into submission by this new culture that penalizes excellence and embraces victimhood. Our culture of excellence, it has leapt oceans to lift up places like China, while their culture of victimhood came all the way back to hold us down. When we rallied behind the cry to make America great again, we did not just hunger for a single man. We hungered for the unapologetic pursuit of excellence. That is what it means to be an American. That is the spirit that we need to revive. It's not going to be fighting over the scraps of some shrinking pie. We will talk about how we revive the greatness that set this country into motion by standing for our commitments, including to our seniors and, yes, to our veterans, too. Something we don't talk about enough. That's how I'm going to lead this country as your next president. Thank you. We'll give these two some questions here, and then, Gavin, do me a favor. If there's some people in the back that have questions, make sure I'm not missing them, okay?
You said recently that you were going to repeal Big Pharma's immunity
Yes.
from prosecution that came since the 80s. Is that
Yes.
a pledge?
Yes, sir. That is absolutely a pledge. And I want everybody here to understand what he asked about. Actually, this was unbelievable. Somebody told me today that when I said this at the last debate, in the online streaming version of the debate, I was shocked when I saw this. They cut out my response. I wonder what's behind that. Sounds like censorship to me. So I said that there's a special form of crony capitalism in the law today. It says that normally, if you're injured by a product, you can sue the manufacturer of that product for damages, except if you're a vaccine manufacturer, in which case they have a special cloak of immunity. That's crony capitalism. And I have pledged that as your next president, we will rescind that, including to make sure that anybody who has been injured, say by COVID-19 vaccination, is able to seek justice in a court of law. That's especially important for the COVID vaccines because people didn't take it based on their own choice. They took it based on mandates. And so there should not be a special layer of government-provided immunity to stop those people from seeking justice. I stand by what I said, even if they tried to censor it. It was unbelievable what I saw there. I'll say it again, and we'll get it on our live stream this time to make sure they don't cut it off. We'll at least put it on X, the platform that doesn't censor this kind of speech. Let's hope. And I think that's exactly what we're going to do. So thank you, sir. I appreciate that question, and you deserve a clear answer on it. That's where I am. Come to you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. So you have talked about cutting the U.S. Department of Education. Can you please talk about what will that look like, not just on a federal level, but here in Iowa, in rural public schools? What does that mean for me as a public school teacher?
Yes.
And what does it mean for me as a parent of school-aged children?
Excellent. It means less money spent by the federal bureaucracy and more money invested in our actual educational system. First in the pockets of parents. Every parent deserves the right to send their kids to whatever the best possible school is, no matter what zip code they're born in. That is the civil rights issue of our time. Now, I think many teachers are undercompensated. We need merit-based pay for our own teachers. The teachers doing the best job should be able to be paid more than the maximums that are set by the teachers' unions. I don't think the teachers' unions are serving anybody except the union bosses at the top of them. And so the way this is going to work is $80 billion restored back to parents. They get to send their kids to school. Since you asked me the detailed question, I'll tell you how this works, okay? 80%, sometimes 90% of the time, if you're switching your kid from a worse performing school to a better performing school, you're switching them to a school that actually spends less money per student. That's mind-boggling. So I think that in those cases, the parents and the kids should be able to take half of that extra money with them. Put that in the kid's account. That kid will graduate with a six-figure graduation gift when he graduates from high school. It's not even close, which is a better use of money. And so that's what I believe in merit-based pay for teachers, such that the best performing teachers should be paid more or able to be paid more than they are now. And every parent is able to use the money trapped in that federal bureaucracy to send their kids to the best possible school of their ability. That's how we restore actual an educational system that goes back to being about the achievement of our own students. Reading, writing, arithmetic. We're now not even in the top 10 in the rest of the world. It wasn't always that way. It will change on my watch. I also want to say something. What's your name? Alora, who's a teacher here. Thank you for your service and being on the front lines. I have to also say, though, education begins with the family. We can't just expect the government and the federal government to solve the problem. That's where the problem begins. People ask me. I founded multi-billion-dollar companies. We now live a life my parents never imagined for us when we came to this country. People ask me, did you grow up in privilege? I used to resist that. No, I didn't grow up in privilege. But now I answer the other way. You know what? Yes, I did. I had the ultimate privilege. Not of growing up in money. I didn't. But I grew up in a stable two-parent household with a focus on education and instilling in us a belief in God. I believe every kid in this country, if possible, should have the opportunity to at least access that same privilege. And right now our government is paying for the opposite of that. So the assault on the nuclear family will end on my watch, and I think that's also a big part of reviving educational achievement. You do your part. You already are. I'm going to do mine as your next president. And it's up to families across this country, parents included, to step up and do theirs. That's how we're going to revive this country as well. Thank you, Laura. I appreciate that question. Let me just ask you one question to you guys, since I brought up for a second an allusion to the faith that my parents instilled in me. Is that a question that people would be interested in? Would you guys be interested in hearing about my faith? Yeah. I'd love to share that with you. You still able to hear me in the back as well? Give me a thumbs up. Thank you. I appreciate you guys in the back. I'm seeing these guys have stayed steady, even though, it may not be the best audio, but I appreciate you guys. So I'll tell you about my faith. This one's an important one to me. My faith is what leads me to this journey, actually. My faith is what gives me my freedom. I'm Hindu. I understand that's different than the traditional background of most people who have run for U.S. president. I want you to know, and I say this with confidence, I went to St. Xavier High School in Cincinnati. I did well in religion class. I can tell you this with confidence. We share the same value set in common, share the same values that this country was founded on. That much I can tell you with confidence. I had what you would call a very traditional upbringing. Here's what my faith teaches me. That there is one true God. That He puts each of us here for a purpose. That we have a moral duty to realize that purpose. That God works through us in different ways. But we are still equal. Because God resides in each of us. That's what my faith teaches me. Now, my parents instilled in us, I think, what you would call very traditional values. That the family is the foundation. That marriage is sacred. That it's between a man and a woman. That the good things in life involve a sacrifice. That adultery is wrong. That divorce isn't some option you just choose off of a menu when things go wrong. That, you know what? It's not just about this life. It's about the eternal life. That we are put here for a purpose. Respect your parents. Respect your family. That's what my parents taught me. So anyway, I get to 9th grade in scriptures class at St. X High School at the age of 14. And we read the 10 Commandments for the first time. What do they say? There's one true God. Don't take his name in vain. Observe the Sabbath. Honor your parents. Don't kill. That's where my pro-life views come from. It's from my own faith as well. Don't lie. Don't cheat. Don't steal. Don't commit adultery. Don't covet. It didn't feel like I was reading these values or these principles or these commandments for the first time. And I know those feel foreign today in our life. Look at what they often are teaching in school. Go turn on your TV. Go to the local movie theater. Go to your DEI training session at an average company. Those feel like foreign values, but they're not foreign to most of us, and they're not foreign to me. They are the Judeo-Christian values this nation was founded on. And so in the spirit of being very transparent and open with you all, would I be the best president to spread Christianity through this country? Probably not. I'm not running to be the pastor. There's a job for the pastor to play. But my job as your next president, will we stand for those shared values? Yes, I will. Will we swear an oath to the Constitution, including the First Amendment, which guarantees religious liberty in this country, which has seen an assault over the last 10 to 20 years? You're darn right I will keep that oath to the Constitution, so that every pastor and priest and rabbi is able to play their own role in filling that vacuum of faith. And what I'll say is actually we got a little further into that Old Testament back when I was 14 years old at St. Xavier. And we get to the book of Isaiah. Anybody remember that one? It was the one where God chose Cyrus, a Gentile all the way in Persia, to lead the Jews back to the promised land. That too is a core teaching of my faith. That we don't get to choose who God works through. God chooses who God works through. But it is our job to do our part. And I want to bring this back to the moment we're in right now in this country. It is going to take a president who has some very different attributes at the same time. On one hand, it's going to take a president who comes from the outside, can break glass, sharp elbows, as an outsider, a businessman, getting things done, shutting down that deep state. I bring that. Trump brought some element of that. But it's also going to take somebody who knows and understands the law and constitution of this country deeply. They duped Trump, actually. They told him you can't fire those employees because of civil service protections. Read the law. You can issue mass firings and shut down agencies as a U.S. president. The current Supreme Court agrees with me 6-3. But I bring this up in the question of faith because those two things don't usually go together. Right? You might have the sharp elbow business guy or the nerdy constitutional scholar, but usually those two don't go together. And I'm in this race because my faith teaches me that every one of us has our own unique God-given gift. And it is our duty to make the most of those God-given gifts in the short time we are given here. It is not being done by us. It is being done through us. And that is what I think it is going to take in this moment to actually get this job done. And especially as a young person, it's my job to make faith and family and patriotism and hard work cool again, actually. for the next generation of Americans. And you have my word that if you all put me in that office, half this job is not just the policy. It is to stand for our national character, revive who we are, and pass those values. Yes, that is important. Those shared values to my two sons. I'll do that as their father, but not just to my two sons, but to their generation. That's my job as your next president. And I consider that one of the most important things I'm going to do. Do we have time for one more question? Okay, we'll go to the woman in the back right there. Yep, thank you. And if you just project, I'll repeat it. Yeah, thank you.
I've been watching you since before you even ran for president on the Blaze.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so it was like a no-brainer for me to work for you. However, I like your, free speech. I would want to support you on that. But how do you get around censorship? Because not everybody has seen you before.
Yes.
People stop that from being seen.
What's your name?
Lacey.
Lacey. I'll repeat the question from Lacey, including the extra flattery. I appreciate that, actually, so I'll take that. I appreciate it. Lacey was telling me so I wrote 3 books before I ran for president, and one of those was Woke Inc. One of them exposed the ESG movement. I don't know if you all know what that is, but it's using your money to do through the back door what the government couldn't do through the front door. I also started a business to fight that ESG movement. It's called Strive. It competes directly against BlackRock and State Street and Vanguard. In my whole career, I take on bureaucracies and we win. And so Strive crossed $1 billion in assets under management the first year after it launched its fund. So there was a small number of people in this country who actually knew who I was, and apparently Lacey was one of them. So thank you for calling it a no-brainer, as you put it. That's very kind of you. I appreciate that. But censorship is a fundamental issue. There's actually a nonprofit that actually published a report about 2 weeks ago that found that I have been the most shadow-banned candidate in this race. My own social media account, LinkedIn, was locked earlier in this race for stating certain hard facts about the climate movement. I'll share those facts with you. Let's see what they do. Even at the debate, when I told you I was going to repeal those special crony protections to Big Pharma, the online stream cut out my response. That's staggering. It's unbelievable. So I said that 8 times as many people are going to die this year of cold temperatures rather than warm ones. That's a fact. I said that the Earth is more covered by green surface area today than it was a century ago because carbon dioxide is plant food. I said that there has been a 98% reduction in the climate disaster-related death rate over the last century because of technologies powered by advances in fossil fuels. Do these sound like things some guy's just going to make up? Like there's exact precise numbers? Of course not. These are hard facts. And yet, social media censored me. They locked my account because they said I had violated their policies. I'm not making this up. It was a lot of back and forth email traffic between our campaign and Microsoft. It violated their policies on hate speech, misinformation, and violence. So I'm not making that up. So in my case, we were able to stay true to the hard facts, put it up on X, a different social media platform owned by Elon now. Some of the press picked it up. And then they came back and they said, oh, no. This is after long emails back and forth on how those statements violated their policies on hate speech, misinformation, and violence. They came back with a public statement saying that the account had been locked in error. So that's making it sound like a technical glitch, but that's just a one-off. How do you overcome this? I'll tell you what's happening. See, the left is always one step ahead of us, and I think it takes a leader who understands what the heck is going on, so we're one step ahead ourselves. Don't call it big tech censorship. That's not what it is. You still hear me back there? I want Lacey to hear me. This is government tech censorship. The government is using these tech companies to do through the back door what the government could not directly do through the front door under the Constitution. That is state action in disguise. And I hate to do it this way, but sometimes you need to rhyme it for people to understand, for the left especially to understand. If it is state action in disguise, the Constitution still applies. Okay? That's the way it works. So when these companies are responding to the threats of the federal government, they're doing the dirty work of the federal government. They're still bound by the First Amendment to that Constitution. If it's a Democratic president, that's why I'm being censored. That's the hard answer. Now, I'm going to do something my political consultants would tell me to never do, but you guys are Iowa, and so let me just ask you, anybody here interested in going just a layer deeper into that, into the constitutional principles here? Because it's such an important question. Just raise your hand if you don't mind a little bit of constitutional, geekery here, okay? But this is important. The consultants, they tell me, dumb it down. Keep it short. Your answers are too long. I don't know. We live in complicated times. We need to... And I think you deserve a president who actually understands more than the talking points that the super PACs serve to the candidates, okay? So I'm going to tell you about 2 Supreme Court cases, and then we get it, okay? One of them was actually a case called Bantam Books. This was a case where a bookstore owner was selling a book. This is long before the internet, by the way. But it's the old principles. They still are with us. They were selling a book that a prosecutor didn't like. The prosecutor said, take down the book. The bookstore owner says, no, thank you. I'm going to keep selling the book. Turns out the prosecutor had some dirt on him, though. And said, no, I'm going to, on some other matter, I'm going to prosecute you for this unless you take down the book. So then the guy's a family. He has a family. He says, okay, fine. I'm taking down the book. A customer then shows up and wants to buy this book. He knew the bookstore owner was selling it, but he shows up later that week, and he says, I want to buy the book. The bookstore owner says, I'm not going to sell it to you. He sues the bookstore owner, and he takes it all the way to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court says that was not the action of a private company, because the private company was responding to a threat of the government. That's exactly what they're doing to big tech. They're censoring them by saying, they're threatening them by saying, we'll come after you and break you up and regulate you unless you censor the speech we tell you to. So it's the exact same thing. It's state action in disguise. Now I'll give you one more. Go in the other direction. Railroad companies. In the war on drugs, the government wanted to search and seize passengers of railroads and common carriers for whether they had drugs on them. But the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution says the government can't do that without a warrant. So the government thought of this clever plot. They passed a law that said they would exempt railroad companies from being sued by passengers if the railroad company was the one that searched the passenger. They thought that was a brilliant workaround. So railroad companies started doing it. The Supreme Court said not so fast. The government cannot give a class of companies a special form of immunity that the government was using to get those companies to do something unconstitutional. That's exactly what's happening with big tech today. There's Section 230 that big tech lobbied for in the law that stops them from being sued, just like the vaccine manufacturers, for violating state laws that prohibit political discrimination. The federal government gave them a blanket of immunity that says they can't be sued for censoring you based on political speech, even if they could be sued under state laws. It's the exact same thing. So, these are the kinds of things I hope hope we didn't put everybody to sleep with that. You guys are still look awake to me. But the point is, this is important. These are timeless principles. What we need is a president who swears an oath to the Constitution, who actually understands what it says. Yes, I'm a businessman. Yes, I come from the outside. Yes, I'm willing to break glass when necessary. You've seen that on the debate stage. You've seen that in some of my, Don Lemon exchanges or otherwise. Right? We don't roll lightly. I don't play with kid gloves. And I brought that, and Trump brings that too, to some extent. I think I'm going a little further with that, and I'm proud of that. But, more importantly, it takes a president who actually understands and swears an oath to and takes seriously that oath to the Constitution. That's what it's going to take in this country. Raise your hand if you know about the carbon capture pipeline in this state. Some of you familiar with it, a good number of you. They are using eminent domain to seize the land and use the land of farmers who don't want a carbon dioxide capture pipeline built in their backyard. The Fifth Amendment to the Constitution says you have private property. The government cannot take it with you, take it from you, except if it is necessary for a public use. This is neither a public use, nor is it necessary to use capture carbon dioxide in the name of some fanatical global climate cult that is really just a substitute for religion. You stop believing in Christ, maybe you believe in climate, a new god that we've ordained in the United States of America called climate change. That's what's going on. But now they're using eminent domain across your land to do it. Not a single Republican in this race has the fortitude to stand up for saying that that's wrong. And I don't mean to pick on your own Republicans here in Iowa, but even your Republican leadership in Iowa isn't going to say a word because the people who are putting this up are some of the biggest donors to the Republican Party. So I can't speak the truth to Don Lemon or the Republican or the Democratic Party if I'm playing with kid gloves with our own Republican Party. Ronna McDaniel, the chairwoman of the RNC, has said, I won't get another cent of funding from the RNC. Well, that makes my job tougher then, doesn't it? But I don't report to them. I report to you, the people of this country. If you want somebody who's going to get in there and speak truth to power, to end the corruption, I don't think they should be trading individual stocks if they're in Congress or a regulator. I don't think you should be able to lobby the government if you've worked in that government for at least 10 years until after you've left. I don't think you should be able to join the board of a company that you did sweetheart deals with as a governor or as a regulator. Democrats and Republicans, including people who are running for president right now in this race, doing it left and right. That, sir, is how we're going to unite this country. Because I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat, we should be against corruption in our own government. But it takes somebody, if you want to speak truth to power, end the corruption, and shut down the deep state, then vote for somebody who is going to speak the truth to you. Not just when it's easy, but when it's hard. Not just to the Democrats, but to our own side in the Republican Party as well. And if we do that, if you put the right person in that office right now, and it's in your hands, Iowa, you guys go first for a reason. I can't compete with the super PAC industrial complex, but we can do this because there's 150 of you here tonight or whatever it is in this bar that can go out and tell 100 more people who aren't here about what we talked about tonight and to bring them out with 15 minutes of your time to save this country on January 15th. I think I'm going to win the Iowa caucus. I told you that because many of our supporters have never caucused. They have not been polled. We're about to deliver a shock to the world on January 15th. But I need your help to do this. I cannot do this alone. I cannot compete with the special interests. Our family has put, just to be very blunt with you, tens of millions of dollars of our own hard-earned money. I just signed another 7-figure check I authorized on the bus ride over here today. That's the inheritance we want to give our kids. More than a bunch of green pieces of paper, we want to give them a country that allows them to live the same American dream that my wife Apurva and I did. You know where Apurva is today? She's saving lives at the cancer hospital at Ohio State. She's a throat surgeon, one of the best in the country at what she does. We have such a broken healthcare system. It's not even a healthcare system, it's a sick care system that'll pay for pill-pushing behavior. She doesn't get paid for many of the surgeries that she does. And that's okay. That works for our family. But we got 2 sons. One's 3.5 years old, one's 1.5 years old. I promise you we're not doing this for pleasure. We are doing this because I don't think we have a lot of time left as a country. If the interest payments on our national debt, those 5 years, if that's the largest line item in our federal budget, we're done. We're in quicksand. If my older son is in high school before we get our cultural revival right, we're done. That's why I'm in this race, and I'm asking you for your help. I hope we have a number of precinct captains in this room. This is a county where we need a number of them. Speak. I can tell you guys in this room are good speakers. Some of you even spoke loudly. I could hear you from the back, from the front too. Speak at the Iowa caucus for us. Our people are here. Before you leave today, I'm just going to ask you, just put your name on that list. If you want to volunteer to be a precinct captain, be one. Be a volunteer, be one. I'm asking you for a donation. I'm soliciting donations tonight. Not a donation of your money. I'm soliciting a more valuable donation than that. A donation of your time. 15 minutes of your time on January 15th to save this country, and maybe 15 minutes every week between now and then to spread this message in this community. And if you all do your part, I promise you, my wife Apurva and I and our family, we're going to do ours to make sure that we are not this nation in decline anymore. That we're not at the end of the ancient Roman Empire, as we're taught to believe. I think the truth is, as a nation right now, we are really just a little young, actually. Going through our own version of adolescence. Figuring out who we're going to be when we grow up. And when you view it that way, it makes sense again, actually. You go through that adolescence. You go through that identity crisis. You lose your way a little bit. You do some stupid things. I did. I'll admit that. But we are stronger for it when we get to our adulthood on the other side. So no, I don't think we have to be that nation in decline. I think this truth is, and this is our last chance for me to tell you this. I can't tell you this 8 years from now. I can tell it to you today. The truth is, I think we can still be a nation in our ascent. Maybe even the early stages of our ascent. Maybe we're not even at base camp. On our way still to that shining city on a hill. That country where we will look our kids in the eye and tell them, and mean it, that the United States of America is still the nation. Where no matter who you are, or where your parents came from, or what your skin color is, or how long your last name is, in some of our kids' cases, right? That you will get ahead in this country with your own hard work, with your own commitment, with your own dedication. And that you know what? You are free to speak your mind at every step of the way. That is the American dream. That is what we are running to. And with your help, that is what we will revive to save this great nation. Thank you for coming out today, guys. God bless you and your families. God bless our United States of America. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being here. What's your name?
My name is Susan. My son brought his mother and his son.
Oh, two. How many? 3 generations here.
3 generations.
3 generations. I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you, my man. I appreciate you doing that. Family's the foundation, and we're going to save this country together. What's that? Google.
Johnny Cash.
Johnny Cash.
What is truth?
What is truth? Write that down. We're going to do that. I'm going to remember that. What is truth? I love that. Thank you. Thank you. Hi there. Could I have a root beer with ice in it?
With ice?
Yeah. Thank you.
I have to go to the front
Thank
and then
you.
the back.
Thank you very
I'll
much.
be there.
I appreciate
Rick
it.
Aguilera, can I get a
Thank
picture
you.
with you?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate you being here, guys.
Right here.
Thank you.
Can I get a
Yes, absolutely. We'll take pictures up front. Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I
It's a
appreciate
pleasure
you.
meeting
Thank you very much. It
Thank
means
you.
a lot to me. Thank you. Thank you, my man. I
I'm
appreciate
John.
it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
You did a great job, by the way.
Thank you.
Good luck with everything in your endeavors.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Pray for our country. You do your part. I'm going to do mine.
I got a great
Get a bunch of
story
people
for
to the
you, too.
caucus.
I want to ask a question about my wife, not
Okay.
me, but anyway, some other time.
I look forward to it. What's your John? Thank you, John. I appreciate it. Hey,
I just have a really quick question for you. And I was just wondering, what do you think about Governor Reynolds allowing that satanic worship
yeah.
in our capital?
So I would say that it should have never been allowed in the first place.
Exactly.
But because it wasn't sincere. It was a trolling move.
Yeah.
Right? It's not a sincere. If you have a sincere faith,
Yeah.
then you have the same rights. But if it's insincere, which is really just a way of trolling people, that's what was wrong about it. But all I would say is I also would have favored doing it through the law rather than somebody breaking the law and breaking it. That's all I would say. Because I stand for petition and get it the heck out of there.
Yes.
But I will never. I was not one of these people who's going to celebrate somebody.
Yeah.
You know, stand for the rule of law.
Sure.
But do it the right way. That's all I would say.
Exactly.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
you.
Yeah, I think the federal marijuana laws are out of line, and I think that it needs to be rescheduled.
Gets a ton of votes.
Should I say so more? I probably you should have asked it. Yeah.
I was gonna vote. Please
Okay.
do. That
Thank
would
you.
be a
I will.
Big help, man.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. If you want some pictures, we can take a picture. Thank you very much. What's your name? What's your name? What's it? Kristen. Nice to meet you, Kristen. Hey, guys. How old is that young man? 2.5. Similar age to my guys. I like that. Thank you. Hey, thank you, man. What's your name?
Brian.
Brian. Good to see you. Good to see you. Thank you.
Yeah, picture.
Thank you, man. I love you.
Yeah.
Guys. Thank you for being here, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you.
nice meeting
Sorry
you.
that speaker was in your ear the whole time. Was it okay?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Wasn't too bad for you? Okay,
No,
thank
it
you.
was great.
Thank you, guys.
It was great.
I was feeling
Yeah.
for you otherwise. Thank you. Spread the message in this community, guys.
I will.
Counting on you.
Will do.
Counting on you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. What's your name, sir?
Mike Pratt.
Hey, good to see you, Mike.
Thank you for being
Thank you for being here, guys. Enjoy. Are you together?
Yes.
It's good to see you guys.
So impressed.
Cyclone here. Good to see you. Thank you.
Such a brilliant,
We think you're brilliant.
Well, with your help, we can do this.
We'll be there.
We'll revive this country. Spread the message in this community.
Excellent work.
Thank you.
More what we need.
Thank
Counting on you guys. Thank you. Thank you very much. Hey,
Can we get a picture?
let's do it. Let's do it. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Hey, I had Kairos at my high school as well, St.
Oh,
X.
okay.
Yeah. Did you do it?
Yep.
It's pretty cool, I think. It was for music. Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, we had this retreat my junior year. We did it. It was eye-opening. Yeah. Thank you, man.
Thanks for
I
coming
appreciate.
out.
How old are you?
I am 8 or 17.
Well, if you turn 18 before November,
Yep.
you can vote in the caucus
All right.
on January 15th.
All right.
Bring your whole high school with you. Just fill it. I'm serious. I'll bring all the seniors.
All right.
That's awesome. Young people getting activated. So sign up with us. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
that. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, good to see you. What's your name, sir?
Jeff.
Jeff. Good to see you, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks. You can sign this too.
I would love that. Thank you. I'll sign that and you sign that. That's good. That's good. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I like your back and forth with Chris and Nikki.
Yeah, we got to stand. We got to be tough
I know.
when necessary. Will you sign that? And that's great. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Hey, it's good to see you. Can I ask you a question? How pro-life are you?
I'm actually a civil rights activist. I'm actually part of a group called True Life of North Iowa. I'm the
Defending life.
yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you.
we
I wasn't
go-
sure which side of the. I wasn't actually sure which side of the question you were on.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
I'm extreme pro-life.
Okay, good. Okay, good. Because I get a lot of people challenging me on that, saying that we're going to lose the election because I disagree. Stand for our principles, and this point about sexual responsibility for men, that's how we win.
I agree with you
Yeah,
completely on that
yeah.
one.
So,
One thing I am concerned about that you didn't really, you talked a little bit about mental illness.
Yep.
I really think that the whole thing with Social Security, that it really should be help people with mental illnesses.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Who are physically and mentally disabled.
I agree with that.
That
America First includes all Americans.
What can we do for people who have mental illnesses?
Well, I think that a lot of the problem is our healthcare system doesn't pay for non-pharmaceutical care. It only pays for pharmaceutical care. It's actually much more. It's actually much more effective to pay for non-pharmaceutical care. That's what I would say.
What do you mean non?
Well, you actually have intervention. You have faith-based approaches. You have actually psychosupportive care, therapy for people who actually are in need of greater help. It's actually far more cost-effective than pharmaceutical care, and yet the atypical antipsychotics or the antidepressants, they actually pay much more for that than they do for other forms of.
My daughter is on Medicaid. She has schizophrenia.
Okay, well, that's a different point. Yeah.
And her
I'm talking about depression mostly, but yeah.
Yeah, and her Medicaid actually does pay for her to see her therapist.
Oh, it does. Her Medicaid, not Medicare, though.
Yeah, Medicaid.
And you bring So Medicare. I'm talking about Medicare.
Yeah, I get mixed
up.
up. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It does pay for
That's
her
fair
therapy.
enough.
So I mean.
Well, I would say Medicare does not. That's what I'm talking about. And a lot of private health insurance that models off of Medicare don't as well.
I don't know much about
Yeah.
Medicare.
Yeah.
We're not at that age yet. So. All right.
Well, thank you. That's what I was referring to. But thank you for being here, and come out on January 15th.
Okay. Well, I'm not completely decided yet. I'm still.
Come out either way.
I am going
Your
to.
voice
I'm going to be
matters.
going out as soon.
Yeah, that would mean a lot.
I'll
Thank you.
figure it out.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much for being here.
Would you mind signing these? That's
Thank
my
you.
interesting
I will.
things. And thank you for
It's my honor. What's your name?
Nikki. It's not working. I had a question for you.
Yes.
How do we guarantee fair elections?
We can't, is the answer.
Did
I
you
can
hear
after I
the
win.
WEF the other day talking
Oh,
about,
eliminating. I posted that. I'm the one
predictive
who
voting?
posted that actually. Yeah, and it is a danger to our future.
That is very scary listening.
But that's going to end on my watch.
Swab
That's the answer.
and states and all
That ends
those.
on my watch. Exactly.
All
Single
right.
day voting on election day with
Yes.
paper ballots and government issued ID. But I need to win to do that, and we have to win in a
I'm voting
landslide to
for
do it. But I'm saying we need to win the general in the landslide, and I think that's why I'm in this. I can do that by bringing young people.
See, I went and saw Ron DeSantis today and Chip Roy because if you don't hear people in person,
Yeah.
you get messed up on.
Yeah, you
on
do.
TV, just like all the time.
TV's
Like
all
when you
distorted.
got- yeah, like when they censored you. and you don't
Absolutely.
say. So I was like, you go and hear everybody in person.
That's great.
It makes a lot more sense.
That makes a lot. That's why Iowa goes first.
It is.
That,
And I moved here
I'm
from Los
grateful for
Angeles,
you
so
doing
this
that.
is different.
Spread that message here in Iowa because more people need to come.
I
on.
have. I've been doing because
Thank you.
I moved here from Los Angeles 6
I appreciate
months ago.
that.
And you don't get close to any candidates there.
Well, here we do.
ever. So this is
It's a
nice.
special opportunity. Thank you for being here. I'm glad. I appreciate that.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Hey, it's good to see you, my man. I appreciate it. What's your name?
Matthew.
Gonna get a picture?
Sure.
Is this you guys together?
Yep.
Nice.
Father
Good to
and
see you,
son.
father and son. Thank you for
bet.
coming as a family, guys.
You bet.
I appreciate that.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for your commitment to a country that needs some help.
I appreciate that.
And
we're going to save it.
believe you're going to try. So thank
I
you.
believe we will try, and I believe in this window we will try and succeed. This is our last chance to get this right. So I appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
Can I get you the autograph?
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
I guess the only question I had is, regardless of who the nominee is, I've been worried that Biden having, all these illegals coming across the border.
Yeah.
That he's trying to use them to get him across the finish line.
Yeah,
So,
that's
I mean-
accurate. That's accurate.
So I don't
So
know.
we have to win by a large-scale margin. This cannot be a 50.1 election.
That's my biggest
This
worry.
cannot be a 50.1 election.
Yeah.
This has to be a landslide.
All right.
So that's what I believe.
All right.
And I can deliver that.
All right.
I don't think anybody else can.
All right, sounds good.
Because we're bringing young people along.
All right, well, I'll let you
So
talk to someone.
well, I hope to have your support at the caucus.
Yeah.
Come on
All
out.
right.
Come
All
on
right.
out on
Sounds
January
good.
15th and spread the message. Thank you. Hey, sir.
Hello.
What's your name? Patrick, can you give me root beer with ice? With a glass right here? It's right there. Oh, it is? That's mine? Oh, no. It's mine? Thank you. Yeah, you can put a straw in. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. What's your name, sir?
John.
John?
Yep.
Good
I
to
got
meet
it.
you. Thank
I
you
got
for
a
being here.
Good. You did a great speech, by the way, today.
Thank you. Could you hear most of it?
Yeah,
Good.
I was right here at the front
Good.
table.
Good. Thank
And I
you.
was hoping that more people in the back would ask questions because I had one. I was kind of letting them.
Yeah, me
do
too.
it.
I was especially because they were being so patient. Thank you. That's kind of you.
So, what is your take on? And then, just a real quick thing. You don't have to go into a big whole thing. Second Amendment, gun control, but yet still controlling mass shootings problems.
A strong protector of the Second Amendment. Get to the mental health epidemic. And if somebody is psychiatrically ill and poses a danger to their community, they should be institutionalized.
Yeah.
That's the answer.
The other thing I think, and then this is just my personal opinion, is it's a minority thing, these mass shootings. It's kind of like airplane crashes. More people die in a car crash than an airplane crash, but all you hear about is the airplane crash.
You're totally right about that. And I think that mental health epidemic is something we've ignored as well.
Yeah.
Thank you. Have you done the Iowa caucus before, sir?
No. I plan on it.
We would love to have you do that and spread the word.
Yep.
We count on you for that. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Yep. Got it. Thank you.
Sign that for me?
Yes, I can. Thank you. Yep.
Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you. Catching a flight. Thank you. Good to see you. Thank you. You want to take a quick selfie?
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. Spread the positive message. Thank you.
Honestly, can you give me a really quick and dirty on digital asset industry, and more importantly, central bank digital currencies?
Dead set against central bank digital currency. End the Fed Now program. I'm the only candidate who's released comprehensive cryptocurrency policy and blockchain policy. Basically, a digital asset framework that says we need to prioritize innovation, freedom to code, go after bad actors for theft, not actually the mode of transmission itself, which is what they're doing. The Tornado Cash case, I don't know if you're familiar with that. Yeah, that was wrong.
Yep.
Right, so go after bad actors, not code as a form of speech. Well, I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Are you going to go right now?
We're heading to catch a flight right now, but I would love to take a picture with you if you'd love.
Right. Yes.
Great smile. All right.
Thank you for being here. What's your name?
Susan.
I hope you come to the caucus.
You signed me up for a captain.
I'm excited about that. We got a captain right here. That's great. Thank you. Good to see you, man. What's your name, brother?
My name's Mitch.
Mitch, it's good to see you. Thank you for being here.
As well.
Bring other people in your generation out to the caucus, man. Young people don't come usually.
Absolutely.
Change that.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Always, man. Hey,
Thank you, man.
I was
What's your
just Eric.
Thank you, brother.
What's your take on Project 47? Isn't that the one with the Heritage Foundation?
Oh, that's called, no, it's called something else. It's Project 2025.
25, that's
yeah,
right.
I like it. I think it's good.
Okay, you do?
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's good. Yeah,
Right on.
dive in.
If you spend half the energy as president, you can't think.
This is our 10th event today. Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you guys.
This could be a cakewalk.
Thank you, guys. With your help, we're gonna save this country. You do your part, we're gonna do mine. Thank you, guys. Spread the message
I'm becoming
here.
your groupie.
Oh, amazing! Good to see you again. How are you?
I'm going to be the precinct captain.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. This is how we're gonna do this. As
and
grassroots.
I'm going to get my kids and grandkids. I'll have them all talked into going.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I will.
Thank you. I'm excited for you guys. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, guys.
Yes.
Good to see you.
Yep.
Thank you. Yes, let's do it with the staff. Absolutely.
Thank you for coming out tonight.
Thank you
I
for
really
having me,
appreciate
guys. I appreciate it. Were you sitting back here?
No, I was
Oh,
actually
you're
at the
okay.
back table.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Come on, Molly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
New friends. Yes, absolutely, guys. Absolutely, guys. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. We're gonna do your part. We're going to get this done.
Hey, one question.
Yep.
Epstein client list.
Release.
Indictments?
Day one. You got it.
All right.
Day one. I'm at radical transparency. Yes, they are. And my commitment comes before even seeing it. Whoever it is, unsparing. You got it. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Hey, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank
You were able to hear all the way in the back here?
I did. And
You
I
did.
was
Good.
going to vote for Trump, but now I'm voting for you.
Thank you. We will take that agenda to the next level.
Good.
What's your name?
Good. Joyce.
Joyce.
Yep.
Have you voted in the caucus before?
Yes.
Would you
Yep.
be open to being a precinct captain
we
for
already
us?
signed up for it,
As a
so,
precinct
yep.
captain? Yeah, if you've done this before, you'll know.
Yep.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Joyce. Thank you. Thank you. Joyce is a good precinct captain. Switch over. Yeah, she told me. Yep. Thanks. Nice job, guys. Hey, just a couple of things. Quick huddle is for the last events of the day. They tend to be the bigger. We need the big speaker for